Good evening, good morning, gorgeous souls, wherever you are in this beautiful world. I hope today, you're settling into some feeling of peace and some feeling of hopefulness and, creating some routine in your day and taking this opportunity to slow down, really connect with yourself, connect with what's going on in the world, and connect with others. So I wanted to come on and talk about a couple of things, but the first thing I want to mention is, in case you missed it, the day one of the Sensuality Bootcamp is up in my group, and there's a little worksheet attached with the video there for you to work on. So if you haven't joined the group already, I put the link there, so you can go ahead and join, and you're not going to be behind or anything like that. It's there for you. And the other thing I wanted to mention is something that's been coming up in a lot of conversation with women that I work with and friends, and even things that I've been really feeling, particularly 2 days ago, was the feeling of isolation. And I just wanted to touch on some of the things that might be coming up for people that have experienced trauma in their life. So trauma is categorized as anything that takes you away from yourself, out of yourself, and leaves like a residual scar of the act. And so when I'm speaking on trauma, for me particularly, I'm speaking on sexual trauma. Hi, Simi. For a lot of my clients, it's, domestic violence, or they could be living in a culture where there's a lot of trauma around being a woman. So when we're talking about trauma, we're really talking about being isolated from the general population. So for any of you that have experienced trauma in your life, you'll understand what I'm talking about when I say that you become isolated from others. It's, part of it is that we are not great at honoring victims, depending on where you live. Most cultures are not great at honoring victims. So if you've been victimized in some way around something, you tend to recede out of like normal, quote unquote, normal society. This goes for members who, I have worked with women in the past that grew up in cult settings, worked with women who've left the sex trade, worked with women who have fled domestic violence. So you create self-isolation out of a way to protect yourself. And, depending on the level of, trauma that you're experiencing or who's participating in that with you, you're not part of normal culture. You really aren't. You're not part of normal society. So you self-isolate, or you're forced into isolation. So for a lot of women right now who have experienced trauma in the past and who felt isolated from their families, their communities, their friends, from other women, this self-isolation is going to bring a lot of that back up for you. And so it's really, really important that you recognize that, yes, this is a very, very difficult time globally. Being in quarantine, being in isolation is never certainly something that I ever thought that I would be having conversations with my clients about, but it's something that's coming up. So recognizing that, yes, this in this moment is quite challenging, it's quite difficult, but really what a lot of women are experiencing is this deep, deep-seated loneliness and a deep residual feeling of resentment. And I really want you to understand that those things don't necessarily apply to you here and now in this very moment. So things that you can do to recognize that is sit for a moment and do honor that part of you that had experienced that trauma. Do honor the part of you that felt isolated in the past, and reach out to someone who you're comfortable sharing your story with. A lot of women have really, really amazing stories of incredible feats of strength, incredible feats of fortitude, and they don't ever share them with anyone because they feel shame. Right? We still hold a lot of like victim blaming language in media, in movies, in music, right? So it's understandable that if something has happened to you that has created trauma for you, that you are still hesitant on speaking about it. So what I would invite you to do is recognize where that bit lies from. Recognize that everyone globally right now is having to readjust and re-navigate this new way of being at the moment. And that if you've experienced trauma, the feeling of isolation is going to be very intensified. It can feel like anxiety, it can feel heavy, it can cause lack of sleep, disconnection from your partner, disconnection from yourself, disconnection from friends and family. And it can create a habit of going into retreat. So I just want you to know that I'm here if you need to speak to anyone about your story. It's my pleasure. I can post my link in the comments if you want to book in a call. It's free. You just have a safe place to share your story, and I can give you some tips and tools to move through that energy and move out of that emotion. The other thing to do is start writing it down. If you don't feel like you can talk to anyone about it, write it down. It's a beautiful way to release that energy. It's a beautiful way to honor that story, and know that you will move through it as we all move through this together. So you're not alone. You're very supported. You can message me. You can find me on Instagram. I'll put my booking link in, and we can have a tea. We can sit down and have a tea and have a chat. And whether you're, I work mostly with women, but if you are a man and you're experiencing some of those feelings too, don't hesitate to book in with me. I'm certainly happy to share some insight into what you may be feeling and some tools for you to help grow out and through this and come out better on the other end. So as always, I'm sending you loads of love, and I look forward to seeing you in the group, or I look forward to seeing you on a call if you feel called to do that. So take good care, take exquisite care, be kind to yourself, be compassionate to yourself, and know that you will move through this, and something amazing is going to be on the other end. So bye for now.